The Labour government is under intense scrutiny, facing mounting pressure as its leadership crumbles under a wave of public outrage. After months of failed policies, deepening dissatisfaction, and record low approval ratings, the British public appears to have reached its breaking point. The situation took a dramatic turn when reports emerged that even King Charles had been compelled to step in, signalling grave concerns over the stability of the nation. The growing discontent has paved the way for an extraordinary political shift, with Reform UK surging in popularity. Nigel Farage and his party have successfully capitalised on Labour's decline, sending shockwaves through the political establishment and leaving Sir Keir Starmer struggling to maintain control. A growing majority of Britain now views Labour not just as ineffective but as entirely incapable of governing, and the crisis within the party has reached unprecedented levels, prompting even Labour MPs to question Starmer's leadership. Labour's landslide victory in the 2024 general election, which ended 14 years of Conservative rule, was meant to usher in an era of stability. With a commanding majority of 174 in the House of Commons and 411 seats secured, the party seemed poised for a transformative period of governance. However, what was initially seen as a decisive win has rapidly unravelled into political turmoil. The public mood has soured dramatically, and Labour's support has collapsed. Despite winning with only 35% of the national vote, the lowest share for any single-party government in UK history, Labour was expected to implement its policy agenda and fulfil its promises. Instead, under Starmer's leadership, the country has been thrown into deeper crisis, plagued by economic instability, social unrest, and growing frustration. Public confidence in the government has evaporated, and the demand for change is louder than ever. Reform UK has seized this moment of discontent, rapidly gaining traction as the primary alternative to Labour. The government's policy proposals have been met with fierce resistance from farmers, pensioners, and environmentalists, further fueling disillusionment. Inflation has surged, compounding economic instability and placing immense pressure on Chancellor Rachel Reeves, who is struggling to reassure the public ahead of her upcoming spring statement. As the cost of living crisis worsens, stagnant wages and soaring prices have fueled national frustration, leading to widespread protests and discontent. Labour's approval ratings have suffered a catastrophic decline, and recent polling by Redfield and Wilton Strategies has exposed the extent of public dissatisfaction. Starmer's approval rating has nosedived to its lowest point since 2021, with many criticising his failure to act decisively and his reliance on ineffective policies. The rise of Reform UK has now evolved into a full-blown political movement, shaking the very foundations of the Labour government. The crisis has only deepened for Starmer as he now faces a net approval rating of 18%, with just 30% of voters supporting his leadership while 48% disapprove. Meanwhile, Rachel Reeves fares even worse, with only 23% approving of her performance and 48% disapproving, resulting in a net rating of 25%. Her economic policies have been widely condemned as reckless and directionless, further eroding Labour's credibility. A damning 53% of voters consider the government incompetent, including 31% of those who voted Labour in 2024. Only 20% believe the government is handling affairs competently, and Labour now struggles with negative approval ratings across nearly every major policy area. Calls for a change in leadership have grown louder, as public frustration with Labour reaches a boiling point. The political landscape has undergone a dramatic transformation, with Reform UK's Nigel Farage now surpassing Starmer in approval ratings, a sign of the shifting tides. Even among former Labour supporters, many feel Starmer lacks a clear strategy to improve the UK. Polls indicate that 47% of voters believe he has no direction, while 54% think his plans are failing. The overwhelming public discontent has left Labour with little room to manoeuvre, and as economic conditions worsen, the party finds itself in an increasingly precarious position. When asked about Starmer's accomplishments, a striking 43% of voters said he had achieved nothing of significance. As tensions rise and Labour's grip on power weakens, Reform UK is well positioned to take full advantage of the government's downfall. Starmer's leadership is now under intense scrutiny, and many believe his tenure is nearing its end. During a recent visit to St Edmund Hall, Oxford, Starmer was seen posing for photos with students, a seemingly casual moment that nevertheless underscored the stark contrast between his past academic achievements and his current struggles as Prime Minister. Despite his prestigious background, Starmer finds himself at the centre of a political firestorm, with momentum shifting rapidly in favour of Reform UK. As opposition to the Labour government intensifies and demands for change grow louder, the party's future appears increasingly uncertain.